financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is COVID or no COVID. What if I'm left in debt? Brian Small, good morning.
Good morning, Ken. Pleasure to be here.
Nice to see you miles away through the webinar.
I know, it's actually the whole web process is actually kind of fascinating to be able to do this, present a show, and still be able to actually communicate in some semblance of in person, even though we're definitely miles away from each other.
Jeffrey Linden, how are you?
Good morning, Ken. I'm doing well.
I think one of the nicest things is you don't have to share bathrooms with anybody in your office.
Well, I still got my kids here. So
little tip of the day as far as the few positive things that have come out of COVID. All right. Today's topic, I really want to go in this direction. There's a lot of people before COVID who had financial problems. The economy, they said, was doing great from the standpoint of, yes, the stock market was doing great before COVID. The unemployment numbers were great, but a lot of people were still hurting because consumer credit was way up from the standpoint of credit card debt, student loan debt, auto debt. We weren't dealing with Mecca from the standpoint of where things stood financially. Now with COVID, things are dramatically worse for a tremendous number of people that had no problems, have problems, people that had problems, their problems are more severe is what it comes down to. So I thought we would do a show that just addresses debt issues from the standpoint of what are the solutions. So you guys know, I like to do a case study. So I picked Barry and Sarah as our clients. They're in their mid-50s. Barry's self-employed. He sells real estate. He makes between $50,000 and $150,000 a year, depending on whether it's a good year or a lean year. This is going to be a lean year, Barry thinks, because of the effects of COVID. Sarah, she's a mid-level exec at a utility company. She's got good, solid income, makes $120,000 a year. Putting up on the screen, these are their assets. They've got some cash in the bank. The big things are Barry has an IRA of $50,000. Sarah has a 401k of $225,000. They've got a house fair market value of $375,000. First mortgage is $295,000. Second mortgage is $45,000. So there's some equity in the house. Those are their assets. Their big problem is they got credit card debt, $125,000 of credit card debt, some medical bills, some tax liability from 2019 and 2018 because Barry's self-employed and doesn't pay in his estimates. Sarah, her money comes in through her W-2 withholding. Their monthly budget, based on that income, they're taking home about $10,000 a month between the two of them. Mortgage, $2,250. Second mortgage, $825. Credit cards, $3,125 a month on that $125,000 of debt. At the end, they're spending $10,600. They only got $10,000 coming in. That's the scenario. The question is, what are their options, Brian? What do they? You talk about Chapter 7. You talk about Chapter 13. You talk about Chapter 11 for small businesses, and you talk about debt resolution. How do you decide? You guys, and Jeff, you talk about taxes. How do you decide what is right for them?
Well, the first thing is that remember this. You may know a Barry and Sarah out there, and their situation may seem similar, but everybody's situation, I'm going to say it again.
Oh, no. Individual to the individual.
Individual.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you. No. Say your famous expression.
Everybody's situation is individual to the individual. And the solution is individual to the individual. So when we look at what
Wait, I don't quite understand the point.
When we look at opportunities to fix the problems for Barry and Sarah, what we've got to look at is the fact that what are their available choices? So we're going to first look at what is the least costly, most effective method to eliminate or get the debt under control. So the first thing we're going to look to is, do Barry and Sarah potentially qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy? Now,
you make that analysis step one for everybody, right?
For everybody.
Why do you want to see if Chapter 7 is right first?
So, Ken, the important thing is to assess the situation. And again, we're looking at the least costly, most effective method to get somebody out of debt. Chapter 7, hands down, is the least costly, most effective method to get out of debt.
Oh, okay.
Now,
so I get it. So what you're saying is that's why your starting point is, because if you fit in Chapter 7, that's the best option.
It may be. Now, remember, just because I think that's the best option for the client doesn't necessarily need to think, or doesn't necessarily think that that's the best option for them. So we're going to explore all of the various opportunities. That's Chapter 7, Chapter 13, debt resolution, budget management, possible small business Chapter 11 if that's what they need. We're going to look at all of those roads and find the best roadmap for the individual, which is why I keep saying it's individual to the individual. It's not about finding the only solution. It's about finding the right solution.
Let me see if I have this straight. This is very important. The problem is individual to the individual, and the solution to the problem is individual to the individual.
It's exactly correct. I could not have said that better myself.
Jeff, do you have that down pat?
Yeah, I'm confused because I thought Brian actually did say that himself.
I did. Here's the key.
I just want to make sure I got it straight.
Okay.
Here's the key here. The key is that no matter what's going on, a complete assessment of your options and opportunities must be made. If you go to a guy that just does Chapter 7, that's the only thing he's going to advise you to do. If you go to somebody that just does debt settlement, that's all you're going to get advice to do. I know we're coming up on a break, but the bottom line is a complete analysis is what you need for you.
COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
I love you too. Bye-bye. That was Jerry. Emma just said her first word.
Oh.
Jerry says hello and they'll be over soon.
Who's Jerry? Is he a friend of yours?
No. This Jerry. Our Jerry. And this is his wife and their little girl.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. All right, so Brian, we've got Chapter 7, Chapter 13, debt resolution. Explain to me how they work, each one, and then afterwards we'll talk about how it works for Barry and Sarah.
So Chapter 7 is the traditional process of bankruptcy. You eliminate the debt that you owe, and you keep most, if not all, the assets that you own. We prepare what's called a bankruptcy petition. It lays out in that petition all of your assets, all of your liabilities, your income, and your expenses. And when we could take that combination, what happens is income minus your regular household expenses, meaning what do you pay for your rent or your mortgage payment, your electric bill, your gas bill, your water bill? What does it take to put food on the table? Your car payments, your car insurance. Take your net income, subtract those factors from your net income, and if there's little or nothing left over, you are going to likely qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy to eliminate your debt.
When you do those expenses, I'll go right to you in a second, Jeff. When you do those expenses, is it your real expenses or are they measured against some kind of rules?
So there's two different tests in Chapter 7. One is called the means test. In order to qualify for a Chapter 7, you must pass the means test. The means test is take your income that you averaged for the previous 6 months and subtract from that the allowed government expenses that are in the tables that we look at. And if you have nothing left over, you meet qualification number 1. Then it's your real income minus your real expenses as they exist right now, within some parameters of reasonableness. The court isn't going to allow a family of 4 to have a $2,000 grocery budget, but they will allow a family of 4 to have a $1,000 grocery budget.
Even though the real budget is probably $2,000.
Yes, that's the reality. That's why if you're making $40,000 a year or $60,000 a year, I assure you, your grocery budget is not $2,000 a month. If you're making $200,000 a year, your grocery budget might be $2,000 a month, but you're also unlikely at that point to qualify for a Chapter 7.
Jeff,
it is income sensitive.
Jeff, what were you going to ask? Because I didn't mean to.
Well, what I was going to ask is if your debts include your house mortgage debt and your car payments, and you're wiping out your debts, are you going to be able to keep your house or your car?
Yes. So with regard to the car, whether it's a lease or a purchase, we can either assume the lease or reaffirm the purchase, meaning that we take it out of the bankruptcy element and we continue to have the individual pay on that. If you want to keep the asset, the car, whether it's a lease or a purchase, you must pay for the asset.
You mentioned that word reaffirm. So it's okay sometimes to do that for a car, but you never reaffirm a mortgage, right?
So amusingly, the mortgage lender will want you to reaffirm your mortgage.
I'm sure, right?
Because that leaves you on the personal hook. But the reality is that in Michigan, as long as you stay current on your mortgage payments, even if you filed the Chapter 7 bankruptcy and eliminated your personal responsibility to pay the debt, as long as the house is current on its mortgage payments, you can still live there. And if you pay off the mortgage, you will still own the house. But if you decide 2 months after your bankruptcy or 2 years or 10 years that it's not worth keeping the house because it's still worth less than what you owed on the mortgage, you could actually walk away from the house, leave the house behind, shut the door, turn off the lights, turn off the gas.
So that's a good benefit to Chapter 7.
Because the bank can't come after you.
All right. So I want to also understand, how does Chapter 13 work and how does debt resolution work?
So Chapter 13 is structured reorganization over time. You're repaying some or all of your creditors, some or all of the debt you owe them over 3 to 5 years. So if because of the COVID crisis or some other financial crisis, you've fallen behind on your mortgage and you've picked up the phone and you've called your mortgage company and you said, "Hi, can you help me?" And they say, "No, we can't, because you have to fill out 98 pages worth of documentation and we're going to lose it 10 times because that's coming back again because it happened the last time we were in a mega financial meltdown in this economy. I can't see banks doing it any better the second time around." So what's going to happen is that you need an opportunity to catch yourself up. The bank wants their money immediately, and you say, "But I don't have it immediately. I can pay you over time." Chapter 13 allows you to pay it over 5 years. Now, that's whether you fall behind on a mortgage.
So what happens to your credit cards in that situation?
Hang on a second. Or property taxes, or even your car payment. We can cure all of that over a 5-year stretch. Your credit cards, they go away. We can pay as little as 0 cents on the dollar through Chapter 13 bankruptcy to your unsecured creditors. And your unsecured creditors might even include your second mortgage because your property values have fallen, and we can take away that second mortgage and pay it as little as 0 cents on the dollar.
So
Chapter 13 reorganizes you.
Do you want to do Chapter 13 or Chapter 7? Which one do you want to do?
Well, again, it depends.
And then how does debt resolution work? Because you only have about a minute before the break.
So debt resolution is, so in Chapter 13, if you're going to repay a certain amount of money and we can keep it very low, that is probably a really good option. In debt resolution, we look at whether or not you would pay back more money in Chapter 13 than you would in a debt resolution, which is settling your debts for pennies on the dollar.
So is that a solution outside of bankruptcy? I don't understand.
It is absolutely outside of bankruptcy. And when we come back from the break, we can discuss it a little bit more or a lot more and show how the interplay between Chapter 13 and debt resolution works.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. I want to remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 o'clock a.m. and Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m. and on KISS 105.9 Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. Be sure and sign up for our monthly contest. Free $100 Visa gift card, Law and Reality hat, and copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. On Wednesday, May 20th, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., we have a webinar, COVID or no COVID, how do I address my debt issues? We're going to go through debt problems so that you preserve what you have. You don't want to allow your future income to go to solving and paying your past debts. The goal is to take your situation so your future income starts paying current bills and the excess goes to savings so you have something to retire with. We'll go through all the options using bankruptcy and also solutions outside of bankruptcy. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. you want to sign up at lawandreality.com, thavgross.com, or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can always come into THAV Gross for a free consult. We're doing them via teleconference, phone conference, or once the shelter rule is out, we'll have in-office consultations available if permitted and when smart. Just call 888-235-HELP to schedule an online consultation, or go to the website and there's a box you can click to request a consult. Debt issues with Brian, tax issues with Jeff, estate planning issues with Brian or Pat Samasco, business issues with myself, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner, criminal issues with Scott Weinberg. Sign up at thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or call 888-235-HELP. Want to thank our sponsors, THAV Gross and Samasco Law. Now back to the show.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV Gross will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
All right, so we're back. So, Brian, you got me confused. You got debt resolution outside, inside bankruptcy. How does that work?
Debt resolution is outside of bankruptcy. It's negotiating a settlement for pennies on the dollar with the creditor, allowing you the opportunity to get rid of the debt at another less costly method than paying them in full.
So I got $125,000 of credit card debt. You're going to negotiate that?
Absolutely. Do it every day.
What's it going to cost me?
It's going to cost you 9% of the debt. That's the fee we charge.
The settlements.
Settlements are going to run between 35 and 45 cents on the dollar on average.
So that's going to cost me more than it would cost me if I did a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, right?
It costs more than a Chapter 7, and it costs more most often than a Chapter 13. But with Barry and Sarah, the problem is Barry and Sarah, when you look at their expenses, they have a considerable amount of money they're paying out for the
$3,000 for the credit
payments. Right.
Yeah.
So even when we make their budget even, they've got like $2,400 a month left over to pay towards their bills. If I put them in a 60-month Chapter 13, which that's what they would be in because they make too much money again, they would pay their Chapter 13 creditors in full. Settling the debts for pennies on the dollar makes more sense for Barry and Sarah. If we took their situation and said that they had only $500 left over at the end of the month to pay all their bills, then Barry and Sarah would make a better Chapter 13.
I get it. All right. So what it comes down to is first you eliminate Chapter 7 because their income's too high. Now you're weighing as between Chapter 13 versus debt resolution. In their case, they're going to pay less money to the creditors and get done quicker in debt resolution than they would if they were doing a Chapter 13?
Yes, remember what the goal is: to get out of in the least costly, most effective method. In this case, for Barry and Sarah, debt resolution will take care of their credit card debt. Unfortunately, it won't take care of their income tax liabilities for 18 and 19.
So how does that work on the income tax liability, Jeff?
Well, on the income tax liability, they basically have too much assets. So they have too much savings in their retirement account and they have equity in their house. Given their income and expense structure, you use the same issues that you do for bankruptcy. They're going to qualify probably for an installment payment, and we could spread that debt over 6 years.
Let's see. Here's the good thing about with IRS and an installment payment. Your payment is, your interest rate on the federal rate is low. It's far lower than credit card debt. And so it's a manageable expense. So you would probably spread this out over how many years?
6 years or 72 months is what the calculation is going to be. At their tax debt, their payment was probably going to be between $400 and $500 a month.
And they're going to get rid of $3,125 a month in credit card payments, right, Brian?
They are.
With debt
I'll tell you this: in the Chapter 13, if they were a Chapter 13 candidate, we could pay back the IRS in full over that 5-year stretch and not pay anything to the unsecured creditors at all. So again, everybody's situation is different. We got to look at it, find the best way to manipulate it in the client's favor.
Right. So in that, Ken, the 13 would is a shorter payment plan, but the interest would stop on it. But under the tax plan, I could spread it out another year, and we'd look at to see which was a better financial outcome for them.
Except, and correct me if I'm wrong for both of you, if we do debt resolution, we're going to have them out of debt on the credit card debt in 18 to 24 months, which is far quicker than you get it in Chapter 13.
You are 100% correct. Remember, I'm going to keep repeating my mantra.
Individual to the
individual.
All right, up on the screen, I'm just illustrating the impact and the difference. For Barry and Sarah, after they get rid of the debt, their net worth goes up to $285,000 from $152,000 before, and their monthly budget goes from negative $600 a month to positive $2,500. Now, out of that $2,500, you're going to have to take care of the installment payment on the taxes, so they're going to be positive $2,000 versus negative $600, and everything's going to be taken care of. The whole point here is there are good solutions. Using Brian's line, the problem is individual to the individual, and the solution is individual to the individual. But the key is to explore your options to get rid of the debt the fastest way at the least possible cost. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.